An overview of higher education funding for military students by Keia Dodd. For my higher education finance topical presentation, I have chosen to focus on the subject of higher education funding for military students. Having grown up as an Army brat, this represents a major area of interest for me. I felt that exploring this topic would be an informative and engaging learning experience, and I look forward to presenting this assignment to you all. Military students represent an incredibly unique and growing segment of learners on our campuses. As such, it is vital for higher education administrators to understand the characteristics of and challenges facing this group of students in order to better support and serve them in their pursuit of post-secondary education. Administrators should take care not to view military students as merely another student group to be targeted. This line of thinking does not adequately encompass their unique set of needs. When administrators learn to effectively address the demands of military students, the benefits of doing so can better inform the practices that are used to manage all students. Before I discuss the funding options for military students, it will be helpful for me to begin by characterizing this group of learners. Military students belong to a subgroup of non-traditional students known as adult learners. Military student is a broad category that can encompass a student who is an active duty service member, serving in the reserve, in the National Guard, is a retired service member, or a spouse or a dependent of a military student. Data from the 2008 National Post-Secondary Student Aid Study reflected that while military students were typically younger than other veterans, they tended to be older than their traditional undergraduate counterparts. Furthermore, they were more likely to be classified as non-white than traditional undergraduate students. In fact, according to the 2008 National Post-Secondary Student Aid Study, military students were more likely to be African American or classified as other. According to the 2008 study, 27% of military students were women. Other unique characteristics of military learners include the types of financial assistance they are eligible for, the unique wealth of knowledge they've acquired from their service, as well as the ability to have transfer credits applied from their prior learning and experience. This is a quote from a military student who describes a common challenge that this segment of learners faces. The quote reads, "Really, the military doesn't prepare you for the exit. You do something for 20 years in the military, and now you come into the civilian sector. You have to deprogram yourself to work in that environment of the civilian world." There are an abundance of other challenges facing military students. For example, active duty students must always be military ready and prepared for the possibility of deployment. These remote assignments often result in absences that require breaks in their academic progress. Additionally, a number of military students are also first-generation college students who may struggle to acclimate to the university setting. Furthermore, retired military students may find returning to the civilian world to be difficult as the atmosphere of a college campus is such a stark departure from the structured environment they have previously known. Feelings of isolation, loss of identity, and the absence of a support system represent other common challenges that military students may encounter. I will now delve into the higher education funding opportunities that are available to military students. There are a number of options available to service members, with the most well-known program being the GI Bill. Other forms of assistance include the Veterans Educational Assistance Program, the Frye Scholarship, the Survivors and Dependents Educational Assistance Program, the National Testing Program, and the National Call to Service Program. The GI Bill is perhaps the best-known source of higher education funding for military students. Concerned for the fate of World War II veterans after they returned from war, the GI Bill was implemented in an attempt to help returning soldiers readjust to civilian life and to help them develop the skills needed to re-enter the workforce. Since its introduction in 1944, it has paved the way to college education and afforded other financial benefits for countless service members. Additionally, it has undergone a number of revisions and iterations over the years. The current version is known as the post-9/11 GI Bill. The GI Bill was initially signed into law on June 22, 1944 by Franklin D. Roosevelt as the Servicemen's Readjustment Act, which is illustrated in the photo in this slide. In addition to providing service members with funding for education, it afforded them other incentives, such as a stipend for living cost and low interest rate loans to purchase a home with no down payment required. The generous nature of the original GI Bill, however, led some to fear its benefits were being abused. For this reason, it underwent its first revision in 1952, and it has undergone numerous changes since. The most recent iteration of the GI Bill, the post-9/11 GI Bill, was signed into law on July 1, 2008. Under the present GI Bill, military students receive a housing allowance, a stipend for textbooks and school supplies, tuition coverage which is paid directly to their institutions, among other financial perks. This slide illustrates a timeline of the GI Bill, beginning in 1944, when it was initially signed into law, through its various iterations, and finally to the present day post-9/11 GI Bill, which was established in 2008. The Veterans Educational Assistance Program is another form of aid that is offered to service members. In order to participate, individuals must make contributions from their paychecks, which the government will match 2-for-1. VEAP funding may be used to attain a college degree. It may also be used toward the cost of certificate programs, vocational programs, flight training, on-site job training, entrance exams, and other educational opportunities. Individuals may utilize their VEAP benefits for up to 10 years after leaving the service. There is also assistance provided to survivors and dependents of veterans. The Marine Gun Sergeant John David Fry Scholarship is designated for children and spouses of service members who have died in the line of duty following September 10, 2001. The Survivor and Dependents Educational Assistance Program, which is also known as the DEA program, is available to dependents of veterans who have been permanently and totally disabled as a result of their military service. Each of these programs can be used to provide funding to spouses and dependents who wish to earn college degrees, earn a certificate, or receive job-related training. The National Testing Program is unique in that it can be used to cover the cost of required entrance examinations such as the SAT, LSAT, GRE, GMAT, and numerous others. This is a tremendous incentive as the cost of these examinations can be a barrier for many students seeking to embark on an education. Despite the plethora of funding opportunities that are available to military students, there are hurdles that can often impede their academic progress. It is important for higher education administrators to be aware of these setbacks. For many military students, bureaucratic trials represent a frustrating reality. Oftentimes, there are hang-ups with the communication that takes place between the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs and individual institutions, which can lead to late payments. Furthermore, university personnel are often not adequately versed on the specifics of financial aid for military students. This is a common cause of confusion and the dissemination of misinformation, which is discouraging for students. Another common complaint of military students is unresponsiveness from the VA when seeking assistance. Although the current post-9/11 GI Bill offers enormous benefits to military students, one disadvantage is that part-time and online students are ineligible for a housing stipend. With greater numbers of students taking classes on a part-time basis as well as remotely, this is a significant blow. Now that I have described what a military student is and reviewed the funding opportunities that are available, what does this all mean? How does this impact the world of post-secondary education? What about its footprint on higher education finance? How does this influence our roles as higher education administrators? As previously mentioned, military students represent a critical and growing segment of college students. Their distinctive backgrounds and experiences bring a unique flair to our college campuses. Furthermore, the kinds of funding for which they are eligible significantly contribute to the scope of higher education finance. As discussed earlier, the GI Bill in particular has had a momentous impact on post-secondary education as a whole. What is more, its significance on higher education finance has been especially singular. The GI Bill has contributed to the enrollment of millions of service members in post-secondary programs since its inception. As higher education administrators, it is essential to understand the importance of military students to higher education. Effectively managing this group of learners is beneficial to students, institutions, and society at large. The first step is to seek to better understand our military students. To reiterate, regarding military students as just another group of students to be targeted is the wrong approach. Instead, we must understand what sets them apart from their traditional undergraduate counterparts and address them accordingly. Additionally, for administrators who work in the area of financial aid, it is vital to be knowledgeable of the various funding sources available to them. Developing relationships with offices such as the Department of Veterans Affairs is useful, as we should seek to serve as a liaison for our students. Lastly, the provision of academic advising, tutoring, and student support groups, as well as other resources, should be advocated by higher education administrators in order to ensure the success of our military students. This concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed.